Hi everybody, this is Tanishka and I'm just doing a shout out for the full moon that is fast approaching. So it's this Thursday, the 21st, so it coincides with the equinox. Dun, 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 dun. So this full moon is going to be in the sign of Libra, which puts the accent, the floodlight onto partnerships. So we always have the full moon in either Libra or Aries with the equinoxes, all right? So the equinox is the time of equal light and dark on the planet, okay? It's when we have complete balance, all right? And so we have the full moon in Libra, which the lesson is about how to find balance. Hi, Shazza, thanks for joining me live. So in the lead up to this full moon, we're really going to see how we either avoid relationship, all right? The excuses, the unconscious sabotaging thoughts that we have. Hi, Megan. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Carrie. Or there could even be the possibility of meeting somebody. But and for those that are already in an existing partnership, and I'm talking about an intimate relationship, you may be tested in some way. And even if you're not in a relationship, it's a guarantee that we're all going to be tested on how we relate to others, how well we play with others, whether that's with our co-workers, with our family, with our neighbors, with our friends, because Libra really highlights how we do social. I have some lovely budgerigars at the Airbnb I'm staying in Melbourne. Arrived here yesterday in the background, if you're wondering what the noise is. We had rainbow parakeets today and yesterday on this lovely fig tree behind me. So, yeah, Libra is the first sign in what's considered the dark fruits on the tree of life. So how perfect there is a fig tree behind me, because, you know, in some, you know, portrayals of the tree of life, it's a fig tree, and others it's an apple tree or a pomegranate tree. But they're these fecund trees that have these luscious fruits of the goddess that are filled with seeds, and the seeds represent the seeds of knowledge, of self-knowledge. So this is here in Melbourne anyway, where I am now for the events we're doing this weekend. It's the beginning of the fall. This is why in America they call autumn fall. It's the beginning of the descent down into the shadowlands of autumn and winter. And so this is a time when we fall into our lower selves. So we get what would you say, triggered into looking at our fears, looking at the things that take us into stories that we're running, that take us into drama, and that take us into the fear of I'm not going to survive. And for those of you that are very astute, I just took you down through the lower three chakras. So solar plexus, which is stories and beliefs. Sacral chakra, the emotional body, which is drama, karma drama. So really feeding into our stories with big emotions that creates moods. And then finally down to the base, which is, you know, I'm not going to survive, and doing compulsive behaviors unconsciously driven by that fear. Now, these are universal human things that we all do, but just know, for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere right now, there will be a test. There always is during each of the seasonal vortices or chakras known as the Sabbats or the holy days. This is where we get the word holidays from. These 3-day energy vortices where, as the wheel turns, the mandala of the seasons, we are initiated to grow, to become mature by, you know, an event happening that really evokes the lesson of this particular seasonal gate. And so what is this one? Well, I'll go through the Southern Hemisphere and then I'll speak to those in the Northern Hemisphere. So if you are in the Southern Hemisphere, so the bottom half of the world right now, This is the beginning of your autumn. Now, the closer you are to the equator, the less you're going to feel this. The closer you are to the poles, to Antarctica, the more you're going to feel this. Okay, the more extreme, the dynamic. So, in Tantra, the autumn equinox was called the Black Wedding, which sounds pretty darn ominous. Ominous, yes, that's the word. So, why was it called the Black Wedding? Well, the Black Wedding is when an event happens that really catalyzes, do we want to stay together? Okay, or is this it? We're calling it quits. So some of you that are already in relationship may have had this already. You may have it surface in your business or your service where you're questioning, man, I'm over this, you know. It's when the shadow tends to eclipse us. And what is the shadow? Our fears and our wounds. So our unconscious thoughts, our unconscious behavioral patterns and actions. And so this is a time when, you know, we can unwittingly hurt each other with our unconscious words and actions. And if the more unhealed we are, the more chance there is of that. So, you know, this is why if we want a truly beautiful divine life, if we want a rich life, then, and I'm not meaning financial riches, I mean a life that is full of the nectar of, you know, joy and pleasure and love and human kindness, then we need to invest in our growth. So the more that we are miserly towards ourselves and our relationships, the more it will show up this full moon. Because, you know, autumn for those in the southern hemisphere is the harvest. This is the first of the harvest festivals. So we reap what we have sown. So Libra brings up for us where we've been out of balance. Okay, so it's the scales, yeah? And the more out of balance we are, the more we create tension and conflict within ourselves, within our relationships, our families, any group dynamic, be it a workplace or a, you know, school, doesn't matter. So where you've been out of balance will really come up to show itself as we approach this full moon. So you may have noticed over the last week and a half, catalysts coming up, whether that's your body saying, hey, I need more rest, if you've been go, 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 or if you've been giving out too much to other people, you may swing into resentment. Because Libra is also about finding the balance between giving to self and giving to other. So when we are just giving to other, we swing into martyrdom. And when we're just giving to the self, we swing into victim. Okay, so this is about identifying what our default is in that. So Libra is an air sign, so this is a lovely time for the art of conversation. It is a lovely time for social repartee, for social catch-ups with friends. So, you know, we tend to find that during this rising of the full moon, which is also a super moon, it's going to be extra close to Earth. So we're really going to feel the effects of this one more than most. And having that and the equinox coincide on the same date, you know, this is like a double vortex. So you can run, but you can't hide. So for those in the northern hemisphere, what does it mean? Well, this is the white wedding in Tantra. And that doesn't mean a woman in a meringue dress and a wedding that on average these days costs $51,000. Isn't that something to think about? So yes, we've lost our way, haven't we? So the white wedding is actually in the ancient world where people would emerge from their winter cave and would consider what have they learnt over the darker descent into the shadowlands of autumn and winter. And in particular, regarding relationship, what have they learnt about themselves, because nothing will teach us more about ourselves than entering into relationship. It's like a crucible that brings and triggers up our wounds. So the person we're attracted to, that chemistry, is somebody that, you know, is the perfect fit to trigger our wounds. And spring equinox in the ancient world was considered the day of the great rite. And it was a day when, you know, the conscious courtship was entered into. So they didn't just jump into bed and road test each other's bodies like a new car, like we tend to do in the modern world. No, this was when they decided, I would like to see you. I would like to get to know you. And they would often take vows of celibacy between now and the next seasonal vortex, which is Beltane. The Irish pronounce it Beltane, but it is the rites of spring. And that was when the wedding would be consummated through sexual coupling, and that would seal the deal that the couple were going to journey around the seasonal wheel and grow with the seasons and observe those lessons. So, which is why matrimony originally meant to be wedded to the land. The ancients understood that you journey around the seasonal wheel together in a tantric conscious relationship, that it's a pathway to own the shadow. We have not just the budgerigars going now, but a very loud plane going overhead. So bear with me, this too shall pass. So this full moon, I might just give it a second. Lovely. Full moon is always a time where there is an urge for communion with others, because it's when the light of the moon reflects the most amount of sunlight. Okay, it's like a big night light. And so too, there's this drawing together of opposite polarities of feminine and masculine, regardless of our physical gender, okay, because we're all feminine, masculine within our soul, okay. So there is this gravitational pull where we want union, where there's an urge for union. And this one will be more so because it's in Libra, the sign of partnerships. So the state of the union is clear to see in our world, because everything is interconnected, and the union between us and the planet is in dire straits. And so this immediately tells us on the microcosm the state of our relationships, yeah, with ourselves and with each other. Because if we can't take care of ourselves, if we are not socially sustainable beings, we cannot create socially sustainable partnerships, families, communities, let alone be stewards of the earth. Yeah, I know when I was a sole parent, I couldn't even take care of a pot plant. So, you know, all this guilt that we have about the state of the earth, we need to address first things first. And the elephant in the room is that we as a species have forgotten how to live sustainably. So the way we do that is by living in alignment with the natural cycles, when we understand the effect that they have on us. And this is the work that I'm doing with my partner Franz around the planet, not just for couples, but for singles, because they live in sacred union. It's a consciousness, it's a way of being, which the ancients all understood, yeah, that this is how we will turn the earth back to green, which has been prophesied by many indigenous cultures around the world as the whirling rainbow prophecy, that we will do so by, you know, coming together and observing the ancient teachings and learning to live again, all colours and all creeds together in communion with the natural cycles, including the lunar cycle, the solar cycle, the seasonal cycle, and our planetary transits, as well as our chronological rites of passage. So this is why I'm so passionate about this work. And they are the ancient feminine wisdom teachings and practices. So for those of you who are in Melbourne, We just arrived here yesterday, so we're doing a ceremony here Friday night. There are still some tickets available, but you might want to be quick because they're going fast. So that is a ceremony we're doing with men and women, regardless of, you know, your status or your gender preference, totally irrelevant. And it's to do a very powerful 4-hour journey into looking at how we have both been the perpetrator, hurting the opposite gender with our unconscious words and actions. And everywhere we've done this ceremony, in Bali, Perth, Adelaide, Sydney, people walk away changed. They're so grateful that they could be part of this experience just as a shared humanity. And knowing it transforms, you know, the patterns and the expectations and beliefs that we're running about the opposite gender and about relationship and what's possible, but also it changes it in the macrocosm. So if you're interested in more details about that, you can head to my website, themoonwoman.com. And we are flying to Switzerland on March 30, and we're doing that ceremony in Geneva, Lausanne, Ibiza, Malta, in Grasse in the south of France, and in Leipzig in Germany. So if you're interested in attending one of those ceremonies, the registrations are now open also on themoonwoman.com. The other event we're doing here in Melbourne this Saturday and Sunday is a 2-day workshop for men and women, regardless of whether they're single, partnered, straight, gay, bi, lesbian. We've had everybody representing those communities at our events so far, and they've all found that they got, you know, equally as much out of it, because universal dance in relationships. Yeah, regardless of our gender, regardless of our age, and even regardless of how many spiritual books we've read, there are 3 stages of relationship. And those 3 stages represent the child, the teenager, and the adult. And when we're triggered, we drop down into teenager or child, and there are certain behaviors that we all do. And this is what creates tension and conflict in relationships. So if you're interested to find out more, you can head to the event page for the Sacred Union Tour. This event, I got a beautiful email from a woman this morning who said that she had tried absolutely everything with her husband for the last 5 years, from top relationship counselors to online courses to books to workshops, from Oprah to Brené Brown, and she just was at her wit's end. And when she read about our event, she only heard about it the day before, something in her called her, and she said it addressed. So, you know, whether you're hiding out from relationship, being a cat woman, or doing polyamory to avoid deep emotional and psychological intimacy, you know, however, wherever you're at in terms of relationship, whether you're currently in a relationship, whether you'd like to be in a relationship and want to get relationship ready, get, you know, skilled up, because we lack relationship education. We have, you know, apps for finding one-night stands, we have dating sites, we have matchmaker services, and then we don't have anything really until counseling, when it looks like the relationship's, you know, pretty much headed for separation. And what's missing in between is relationship education. So this is something I'm so passionate about, and delighted to be back in my hometown for the equinox, which is the time of relationship, at looking at how we do relationship with our eyes wide open, looking at the shadow honestly, and equally seeing how we are all the victim and the perpetrator, and how we can change that dance. Because you know, as somebody that did a big journey as a soul parent, you know, these are the skills that we need so we stop creating endemic trauma for the next generation. Because with a divorce rate of 50% in the West, and those that are still together are dealing with these shadow dynamics that are impacting and creating trauma in their kids, regardless of whether they split or stay together and have these negative patterns going. So if that's something that, you know, you care about deeply and want to transcend those 3 stages of fear and power so that you can get to love, to deeply healing, loving relationships, then yeah, I invite you to check out the work that we're doing. And we will be bringing this to Europe. We're doing this weekend workshop in Malta, in Grasse in the south of France, and in Leipzig in Germany. And then we're taking it to America. So we're doing New York at the Omega Center July 5th to 7th. The bookings are on the website for Omega. That's OMEGA, so you can book in for that now. But we'll also be presenting on the West Coast, so more news on that soon. So that's everything for now. Have a beautiful full moon, a beautiful equinox. For those of you who have read my Sacred Union and Partnerships book, this is the time to start the full moon practice with your beloved. That will help you through the dark months. And if you're not in a relationship, I would like to invite you to consider, I've got 2 online courses to support you through the dark months. One is the 13 Moons course. This one is just for women. And you start on the new moon in Aries because it's the first sign in the zodiac wheel. And every new moon, I give you self-inquiry sheets and tutorials to look at the shadow of that sign and how it's playing out within you, so that you become wise. It accelerates your wisdom through knowing thyself, which is, you know, what was transcribed or etched into the stone at the temple at Delphi. So this is a beautiful priestess pathway. It's for women of all ages, and you get an oracle deck included in the price, posted out to you, but it's a beautiful journey. So there's a free webinar on the course page. If you head to themoonwoman.com and scroll down to courses, and you'll see 13 moons. You can watch the webinar and see whether or not that calls you. And the other course, it's another online course for women, and it's the Inner Goddess Makeover, or the Inner Goddess course. And this is a 7-month course where you journey the 7 feminine archetypes or aspects that make up the female psyche. So this is an opportunity to see not just the shadow, but also your strengths, your divinity at each one of these facets that once realized help you to shine like a diamond, so that you activate your full goddess mojo, your Shakti. So this journey has been loved by countless women around the world. There's a forum there to support you through the journey, and there's lots of beautiful fun processes like sacred bathing rites at new moon, and beautiful private ceremonies to do at full moon, and there's video tutorials. You get a book sent out to you, and yeah, lots of magazine articles. So you don't have to do it all online. You can print it out and read the articles in the bath and listen to the meditations under a tree. Yeah, so you might want to check out the free webinar for that as well. But yeah, it's all on themoonwoman.com. So that's everything. Wherever you are on the planet, whether you're about to experience the black wedding in the southern hemisphere and be tested to look at your shadow over the next 6-7 months, or whether you're in the northern hemisphere emerging like a butterfly from your winter chrysalis to really celebrate the new you with the white wedding and make vows to yourself to honor yourself. I wish you a beautiful supermoon, full moon equinox. And to those of you in Melbourne, I am thrilled and excited to see you at our events this Friday night and this weekend. Ciao for now.